All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rukakwadash. I want to give double honors to our apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. In grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. This is your fellow servant, Rukayer from the GMS Orlando camp, coming at you with another impromptu lesson. All right, tonight's lesson is entitled The Song of Moses, A Blast to the Past. All right, and tonight's lesson is inspired by, something I was meditating on as I seen that movie Sinners, which I had a few spiritual takeaways from that movie. It was a good movie overall, in my opinion. But I had a few spiritual takeaways from that film, and one of the spiritual takeaways I got was from one of the scenes. It was a music scene where they had everybody in a juke joint, and they were basically going through how music is like a blast to the past. Music brings out spirits. It brings out, the emotions and the memories of your ancestors, which, they're going off, of course, but, spiritually correlating what was happening in that scene. As the Song of Moses is being sung again here in these latter days, it's giving us a blast to the past. It's reviving, that ancient spirit of serving the Lord. It's putting us in remembrance of who we were. Not only that, but it's putting us in remembrance of the covenant, the agreement that we made with the Heavenly Father, through His only begotten Son. And that song is being sung constantly. It's being sung every day, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. And it's waking up, the elect. It's galvanizing and reviving the elect, as it were. So I just wanted to read through Deuteronomy, the 32nd chapter. Lord wants to edify unto you elect, because music it can be a form, of bringing back memories, a blast to the past, so to speak. And as the Song of Moses is being sung, we're being blasted back to the past of the faith and the belief of our forefathers, which ultimately, as we understand, is us through reincarnation, Lord willing. But this is Deuteronomy 32, verse 1. Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, as the showers upon the grass. All right, and the Lord's doctrine has poured out like the rain, and it's nourished us as a result. It's given us a refreshment in amongst the valley of these dry bones. It's given us an oasis in this valley of the shadow of death. It says, my doctrine shall drop as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, as a small rain upon the tender herb, as the showers upon the grass. And I want to get this too, because, as the Lord said his doctrine would drop as the rain, he also said this in Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 24. And I'm going to start at verse 30. All right, it says, I also came out as a brook from a river, and as a conduit into a garden. I said, I will water my best garden, and will water abundantly my garden bed. And lo, my brook became a river, and my river became a sea. It says, I will yet make doctrine to shine as the morning, and will send forth her light afar off. I will yet pour out doctrine as prophecy, and leave it to all ages forever. As the Lord poured out his doctrine as rain, he left it to all ages forever. All right, and here for us here in this latter age, are picking back up that doctrine through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. We're picking back up the mantle and continuing in the race, that our forefathers labored in. Lord willing, would elect. All right, we picked up that mantle through the spirit, and we're continuing with the testimony of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, man. All right, it says, my doctrine, back in Deuteronomy 32 and verse 2. It says, my doctrine shall drop as the rain. My speech shall distill as the dew, as a small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass. Because I will publish the name of the Lord, ascribe ye greatness unto our power. All right, and the name of the Lord is being published. All right, when you publish something, let me get the etymology of publish. Yeah, let me get this. Bear with me real quick. All right, this is published from the etymology online. It says, make publicly known, reveal, divulge, announce. It says, influence, banish, to finish. All right, but the main ones are to make publicly known, to reveal and divulge, to announce. All right, and the Lord said, all right, back in verse 3, because I will publish or reveal or announce the name of the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, ascribe ye greatness unto our power. All right, and the name of the Lord is being published, is being announced. How? Isaiah chapter 58. In verse 1, cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show thy people their sins and the house of... It's like it. Fucking, it's commercial. I mean, a little bit distracted. It says, cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and shew my people their transgression and the house of Jacob their sins. All right, so the name of the Lord is being published by his prophets, crying aloud, sparing not. All right, out there on the highways and byways, the teachers, all right, the prophets that the Lord sent in his name according to his heart, pursuant to Jeremiah, the 3rd chapter, the 15th verse. All right, that's how the name of the Lord is being published, announced, revealed. All right, here in these latter days through the Spirit. All right. It says, because I will publish the name of the Lord, ascribe ye greatness unto our power. And I wanted to get this in Psalms chapter 68 and 11. It says, the Lord gave the word, great was the company of those that published it. All right, and great it says, it's like, great are those who are publishing the name and the word of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai here in these latter days. All right, the Lord has a great company. All right, publishing his name, spreading that vibration. All right, here in these latter days, revealing and reviving that ancient spirit of servitude toward the Lord, the ancient spirit of obedience, that ancient spirit of conviction, of duty. All right, the Lord is reviving that, man, through the publishing of his name, first and foremost. It says back in Deuteronomy 32 and verse 4, he says, he is the rock. His work is perfect, which it truly is, man. The work of the Lord is perfect from every aspect, from, the Lord nourishing us up to this point, up until now. The work of the Lord is perfect. How he has prophecy laid out, how he's working on the minds of these kings. We can go on and on. The work of the Lord is perfect. It says, for all his ways are judgment, a power of truth, and without iniquity. Just and right is he. And we're learning that again. All right, that the Lord is a just balance, and that the ways of the Lord are in judgment. All right, we're learning that again. It says the wicked don't know the ways of judgment. Roughly paraphrasing. Let me get this in Proverbs. Right, Proverbs 28 and 20, verse 5. Evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understand all things. All right, and those who seek the Lord understand that the ways of the Lord are in judgment. All right, the Lord bringing forth his judgment every day, bringing forth his judgment to light every day. You know, and the ways of the Lord are constantly in judgment. The Lord is known through his judgments, all right, to be just. He's known to be just, equal power through the judgment that he executes on a daily basis. You know, but the wicked understand that not. The wicked think that, you know, everything that's going on is a coincidence, or, you know, the devil has power over whatever's going on in the earth, which is far from the truth. All right, the Lord has his hand in everything that plays out in the planet. All right, the Lord has his hand in the birds that drop, you know, the birds that get fed, the ants that get fed. The Lord had his hand in that. You know, and the Lord's ways are the ways of judgment without iniquity and truth. Going on to verse 5, it says, they have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. You know, and when you read Hosea 4 and 6, you know, it goes even further, man. You know, the Lord basically called us stupid as a nation because we lost and corrupted the ways of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. You know, we corrupted the divine instruction that we were given, you know, through the seeking out of our own devices. But now we're learning, you know, that the mind of the Lord is far greater than ours. And the standard of the Lord is far greater than any standard that we can set in the flesh. You know, and through the understanding of that, we're starting to return unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. But it says, do ye thus requite the Lord, O foolish people and unwise? Is not thy father that hath bought thee? Hath he not made thee and established thee? Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will shew thee. Thy elders, and they will tell thee. And this is what we're doing through the Spirit. All right, we are remembering the years, considering the years of many generations. You know, we're asking our fathers through the studying and the reading that we do every day. You know, as we read, as we have questions in our mind through the Spirit, they're being answered through the Spirit as well, through the scriptures. You may have a question in your mind, you know, why does this happen? What's going on with this? And the Lord answers you through one of the trials or one of the obstacles that our forefathers had in the scriptures, one of the accounts that our forefathers had in the scriptures. You know, as we ask our forefathers or seek out of our forefathers, we're receiving answers. You know, we're asking the former generations. We're inquiring of the faith, you know, the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, you know, that led to the mercy and the wonders that were performed in our forefathers' life. You know, how did that happen? What was the blueprint? And it's all coming from the scriptures. You know, it says, when the Most High divided the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. And this is an understanding that's coming back into the earth. As the song of Moses is being sung, all right, this is an understanding that's coming back into the earth. The Lord's portion is Yahweh, which today consists of you so-called Negroes, you so-called Latinos, and you so-called Native American Indians, man. We are the Lord's portion, and being the Lord's portion, we have responsibilities that are demanded of us, required of us, you know, which the main responsibility is just to be obedient to the Lord. Like it says in Ecclesiastes 12, the last verse, the conclusion that King Solomon came to, which is Yahushua, he said, serve the Lord, fear the Lord, and keep his commandments. That's the whole duty of man. That's it. That's it. Just fear the Lord and keep his commandments, bro. That's the conclusion, bro. That is the conclusion. Fear the Lord and keep his commandments, man. Oh man. It says, he found him in a desert land and in the waste howling wilderness. He led him about and instructed him. He kept him as the apple of his eye. All right. And, I'm going to leave off right there. Just reading those couple verses, just wanted to get into it. The Song of Moses is like a blast to the past, and it's being sung every day. It's causing us to remember. It's putting us in remembrance through the Spirit, of the way of our forefathers, of the obedience of our forefathers, Yahweh Shai chiefly, and the way into good graces with our power. But with that being said, that's all I have. Lord, I want to edify unto you elect. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. And double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. Shalom. Stay up.